Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John Shea Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Earlham Teambuilder Dynasty here on NCAA 14, featuring that college football revamp, of course. And we are here. Yes, we are here with the offseason, getting ready to go into year number 5. And this season that we have was absolutely amazing. We ended up finishing 13-1. It was an incredible season that we had, through and through. Only loss being to the Michigan Wolverines, but even then we only lost to them by 9 points. Other than that, we dominated Ole Miss, who was ranked at some points. We dominated Arkansas State. We had some thrillers thrown in there. We had some, games that we won with, relative ease. Manchester in particular, that was an exciting game to watch. We got it done at the end of the day. We got a championship at the conference level, and we win the Rose Bowl. It was absolutely insane year, man. I am absolutely blessed that we've been able to do what we've been able to do over the course of this season. And the Earlham Quakers were part of 6 teams that were invited to go to a bowl game this season, Earlham was the pallbearer. We went to a New Year's Six bowl. We did beat the Penn State Lions by a final score of 21-19, who did finish number 9 in the nation. We actually finished 3rd in the final AP poll. So that is most certainly our highest ranking in school history. Almost everybody won, actually. The only exception is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, where the Wittenberg Tigers, we did play them in the conference championship game. That's where they went to play against the Cincinnati Bearcats. And the Cincinnati Bearcats took care of business. They won 28-6. But other than that, Manchester wins their bowl game against Tulsa. Surprising top 25 matchup there. Hanover goes on and beats Wake Forest in the Military Bowl. Harrison beats Louisiana. And then to finish things off, Mount St. Joseph beats Memphis in the BBVA Compass Bowl, to end of the season. So our conference does a really good job through and through. We end up finishing 5-1. That includes, going 2-0 against Power 5 teams. So, this is a pretty good conference that, we were able to put together this season. And I'm proud of how we were able to, get it turned around over the course of the year. Checking out the All-American group, to round out this season. Scott Campbell, he was a true sophomore at Air Force. He did end up winning the Heisman Trophy. But beyond that, though, he really got a ton of awards. Won the Heisman Trophy, won the Maxwell Trophy, won the Walter Camp Trophy, and the Walker Trophy. So that trophy collection for Scott Campbell is just absolutely massive. And to be honest, it was well deserved too. 6.5 yards per carry, almost 2,500 yards on the ground, 26 touchdowns. Sure, he may have gotten a ton of carries, but man, he did the most of those carries as well. That is absolutely impressive. Not talk about relying on your guy to go ahead and make a difference. So congratulations, Scott Campbell, for winning that Heisman Trophy. As we look around and see, if we happen to have anybody that, made it onto the All-American team. And we actually do. First team guy, Nate Hunt, does go ahead and make it, the sophomore redshirt. Played even better than he did in his freshman campaign. Ended up with 78 total tackles, 4 sacks, and an interception. And I think one of those interceptions happened in either the championship game for the conference or the division championship game that sent us to our conference championship. Another person that made it as a first-team All-American, Caden Doman. Now, he's a true senior, so I'm definitely, might get a little emotional, when we get to, players leaving. This is a guy that molded himself into a solid college football player. This is a guy that was an original walk-on, played all 4 years, still isn't very quick, only 78 speed to show for it, but, really worked on his craft to make sure that, he was a solid player. that got to work with, and maybe he would have been better off as a wide receiver per se, but we were so stacked at wide receiver it didn't necessarily make sense. But that being said, he kind of broke out his senior year. He had 5 interceptions when it was all said and done, and 3 forced fumbles. He may not get an NFL look, but man, would a Canadian football team or a some others little sub-pro team go ahead make a difference? Jacob Ramos becomes a first-team All-American. He actually misses a field goal this season, but we called on him quite a bit this year, and he answered the call. 26 for 27, Lou Garza Award winner. And then Justin Burton wins the basically like the best returner award. He kind of had a down year defensively, kind of had reduced production across the board per se, but he more than made up for that as a kick returner, as well as a punt returner as well. Ended up with 2 touchdowns, for in the kick return game, and then even returned a punt for a touchdown, I believe, against Mount St. Joseph. So 4 first-team All-Americans on the defensive side of football. You absolutely love to see it. Checking out the second team, that includes John Elliott, who we did go up against. He actually won the O'Brien Award, but we somehow found a way to, kind of hold it down, make sure we took care of business at the end of the day. Matthew Sands was named as a second-team All-American. He, did a pretty solid job. 44 tackles, 6 sacks. 3 pass deflections. I'm liking that, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Earlham is getting the respect that it deserves. Josh Brown is also a second-team All-American. And then Cameron Frost wins second-team All-American. So 7 All-Americans, all of them 6 of them on the defensive side of the ball, 1 in special teams. The defense was absolutely special. Over at the conference level, checking out, see if we have any offensive guys that made it on our all-conference list, and CJ Holman was named as the first team all-conference at that halfback position. Keep in mind, this guy missed 2 games because he was suspended during that time, but despite that, he still had increased production from the previous season. 1,100 yards on the ground, 15 touchdowns, so he doubles up on the touchdowns as well, so you absolutely love to see it. Still not a single rushing fumble. And we will have at least another season with him before we go ahead and see what else he could do. In the receiving game, he made himself more available as well, at least in the red zone, as he ended up getting 4 touchdowns through the air as well. So, got 19 total touchdowns for CJ Holman on the year. And, did it plus with 1,250 yards all-purpose. So, a very good season for CJ Holman for sure. As I'm looking around for the rest of the, rest of the room to see if anyone else made on the first team all-conference. Chris Chai, he wasn't named an All-American, but he is on the first team all-conference squad. As we actually go ahead and do a really good job of cleaning up at least the first team all-conference awards. Giante McLaurin is also up on here. I don't know if that should be the case, but he had 42 tackles and an interception. Let's see, Justin Burton still on there as well. No surprises there. As for the second team, it looks like we did have anyone on the offensive side of the ball that made it onto either the first or second team, despite having really good offense this season. It just kind of shows that it was a team effort. So we'll go ahead now and go into the final season stats for our guys over the course of this season. Miami Uiagalelei, I'll tell you what, had a really good year through and through. He doubled up his touchdowns from both his freshman and sophomore campaign. Ended up finishing with 25 TDs. Did throw 10 interceptions, but keep in mind, he was on the field far more often than what he was, in his sophomore year. So the fact that he threw, roughly the same amount of interceptions is pretty encouraging, actually. We'll see if he can continue to improve that touchdown interception ratio. He had over 3,100 yards passing, and then on the ground had more rushing yards than he did last season. Got back to about his freshman year level when he had 664 yards. This year he had 633 yards off of less carries and then got into the end zone 8 times this season. So we had a grand total of 33 touchdowns this season, so you absolutely love to see it. He did fumble the ball a little bit more often. He was a little bit careless running with it towards the end, but still a real good year for Miami. CJ Patton also showed some extreme promise as well. He had a solid year as well, playing as the backup for Miami Uiagalelei. He ended up with 479 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 picks on the season. He improved his completion percentage, in that limited action, which was mainly, with the exception of the Wittenberg game, of course, the first time around, because we played Wittenberg twice. We, had CJ Patton mainly come in for garbage time situations, but, he did a pretty good job in those situations, and, hey, he had positive rushing yards. I already talked about CJ Holman and the fact that he was able to come in and, had a really good year. Jesse Greenvo did a really good job as the backup, though. He, backed up CJ Holman and, had roughly the same production as he did his first year after having to sit out because of the transfer rule. 82 carries for 402 yards and 4 touchdowns. Anyone else get into the end zone? Jakeem Short found the end zone, surprisingly. He had 9 carries for 32 yards on the season, but he was the only other person to get into the end zone over the course of the year. For the receivers, it was mainly 2 people, getting a bunch of attention this year. Adam Hill III and Jakeem Short. Adam Hill III did lead the team in both catches and yards. He ended up with 56 catches for 790 yards this season. Really stepping up from his first 2 seasons. Basically doubled up what he did in his first 2 years in terms of production. Found the end zone same amount of times, though. Jakeem Short had a really good year as well. 709 yards. A step up from his first 2 years as well. It just shows that, when we have stability at the quarterback position, the receivers are going to benefit. And Jakeem Short sure did. He had more touchdowns this year than in his first 2 seasons on the field combined. 5 total touchdowns. You love to see it. Derek Blueville had a little bit of a, step back a little bit, but the catch to touchdown ratio was insane when he had 48 catches for 11 touchdowns. He had roughly the same number of catches, but he had less yards, and he had only 4 touchdowns this season. It just shows that the other receivers really stepped up, and frankly, didn't even have to go ahead and, work with, Derek Blue as much necessarily. He's still a good receiver, don't get me wrong, but, at the same time, it is what it is. Jariah Bond, true junior, ended up with 6 touchdowns, more touchdowns than he did in his first 2 seasons on the field as well. He ended up with 36 catches for 497 yards. Those are both highs compared to his first 2 seasons on the field. And he had less drop passes as well, which I like to see. Jeremy Sprinkle Jr. was a great offensive weapon for us. On top of that, 29 catches, 396 yards, and 5 TDs in his first season on the field. Did drop a few passes, but, he'll only get better as time grows on. He is only a true freshman, of course. Jesse Green found the end zone through the, through the receiving game. And the same could be said for Jake Elliott, who made a slightly bigger impact than in his true freshman year when he came in as a preferred walk-on. Then we also had Robert Price Jr., who got into the end zone. Cameron Frost, the offensive Cameron Frost, found the end zone as well. Finally, for the defensive side of the football, Nate Hunt was an absolute monster. He had 92 total tackles this season. 78 of those are solo, 17 TFLs, and 4 sacks with an interception at hand as well. So you like to see that. Josh Brown wasn't too far behind. He had 73 total tackles on the season. Didn't get any sacks. He did have sacks in his first 2 seasons, but that just didn't happen this time around. Still a very good defensive player, which I really like to see. Justin Byrne, like I said, had a little bit of a down year, but, still had a really good season, all things being considered. Although, Nate Hunt didn't even lead the team in TFLs. Matthew Sands and Finn Otis each, had even more TFLs. Matt Sands ended up with 50 total tackles with 24 TFLs. It was a little bit of a down year, he stepped back a little bit, but still a very solid senior campaign with those 6 sacks, Finn Otis also took a step back as well. He only managed 3 sacks on the season, a third of what he managed in his true freshman campaign. You know, he had 3 total sacks on the year. Chris Ty had multiple double-digit TFLs. He ended up with 7 sacks as well in his first year on the field. Josh Brown had 12 TFLs, and Justin Burton had 11. For the sacks category, Chris Ty led the way, but you know, we could have done a better job, you know, getting some pressure on the quarterback, all things being considered. Our defensive line was better. I thought we could have done more on the defensive line, but you know, this was not a team, you know, it played fundamental, forced you to check down, and really made you want to earn it necessarily. And, you know, we also had guys that, you know, surprisingly stepped up. Caden Doman, for example, was the biggest reason, you know, why this defense took a step forward. 5 interceptions. But then on top of that, also had 3 forced fumbles. So he caused 8 turnovers. That's almost a turnover a game. Cameron Frost also had 3 interceptions. And Mario Hernandez had multiple picks as well. This is his first 2 interceptions of his career thus far. Then top it off, Nate Hunt, Justin Burton, Josh Brown, and Deontay McLaurin all had picks as well. For the forced fumbles, I also talked about how Caden Doman, you know, forced quite a few fumbles, but Deontay McLaurin forced a fumble too, and the same could be said for Cam Frost and Chris Ty. That being said, we didn't recover many of our fumbles though, as we only managed to recover 3 of them. Matthew Sands, Justin Burton, and Chris Ty had fumble recoveries. And then we had 1 defensive touchdown the entire season. That was Cameron Frost as well, the Griffith, Indiana product. He was able to get into the end zone off of an interception. So the athletic department has been so impressed with what we have done over the course of the season that they are actually going to go ahead and give us a 5-year extension. And of course, we are going to go ahead and accept that they were patient with us. And as a result of that, they gave us a Rose Bowl victory as a result of it. So I'm very thankful that they did give us an opportunity to try to build this team to our vision. So we'll be sticking around for at least a few more years. So here we go. These are the guys that are going to go ahead and graduate this season. It's always a little sad to see guys go. Our first custom recruits actually that are going to go ahead and graduate. You know, Matthew Sands, you know, most notable player, you know, was a guy that, you know, played the last 3 seasons, you know, and consistently made an impact on our defensive line. You know, guy that, you know, really helped turn around our defense because it always starts out up front. And then Caden Doman, man, to me, he's kind of a favorite of mine, man. Caden Doman really worked on the craft. He is the epitome of his program, an underdog kind of guy that has a chip on his shoulder and really molded himself into a solid college football player. He's made his fair share of mistakes while he was on the field, but that being said, 5 interceptions to end your career, that's not too shabby whatsoever. We'll also say goodbye to Temperance Welgana, who was a, you know, career backup after season 1, but he didn't have any interceptions. Zay Fallhelm still managed to find a way to stay on this roster. Didn't play last season, but he has scored a few touchdowns for us in the past. Bob Smith, the fullback. Yes, the fullback. You know, didn't get much love after his first, you know, season with the team, but did manage a couple of touchdowns this year. McTarvius McCary actually had a defensive touchdown, I believe, in the junior campaign when he came in as a, you know, played that 1 or 2 plays that year. He didn't play that much though. And then Daniel McDarris was also a custom recruit. He was actually a career backup, but still found a way to somehow stay on this roster. So while while we ended up deciding to go ahead and stay at Earlham, that being said, that feeling was not shared by our coordinators. Our defensive coordinator left, so we now will have Josh Dennis at the helm. And then Ryan Pugh will take over as our offensive coordinator after Kevin Green did go ahead and move on to greener pastures. We'll go ahead and see if we can go ahead and find, you know, where our new coaches ended up going. So Dusty Concepcion, who was our, I believe, our defensive coordinator, he ends up taking over the head coaching job at Bluffton University. Gonna have a little bit of a situation on his hand. This was a team that has not cracked 500 for a very, very long time. It's been a past decade since the last time these guys finished with over 500. So Dusty Concepcion's gonna have a problem, trying to go ahead and turn that football program around. But we'll see if he is gonna be capable of being able to go ahead and get the job done at the end of the day. As for Kirk Green, he ends up leaving to take the head coaching job for the Duke Blue Devils. He isn't gonna start with an A+ prestige, not too shabby, ending up in the ACC conference. This is also a team that's coming off a Russell Athletic Bowl win, so let's see if he can go ahead and continue that process for us. As for where our coordinators came from, Ryan Pugh was actually the former head coach at Auburn before ending up being fired, but he's sure going to bring some good experience for us. As for Dennis, he actually was the head coach for Oklahoma State as well before he ended up being fired. So we have two former Power 5 coaches on our coaching staff that are going to be joining us here for season number 5. That being said, since we will have new coordinators, that means we will be changing up our offensive and defensive schemes. I'll go ahead and reveal what we're going to be running towards the end of the episode. Alright, man, so we have ourselves an opportunity to go ahead and really beef up our recruiting class before we get to signing day. We didn't have anybody make it to the NFL or have any transfer requests, unfortunately, so that's why I didn't show that screen. That being said, though, the biggest focus is trying to get Chauncey Larson. You saw it in the Big Earl Football Podcast episode. He's a raw talent, but if we put him at that quarterback position, he could be, a more refined version of Miami Uiagalelei. And, that's really what I, see. Except he can throw the ball deep. He already has 87 throw power. He's got 79 throw accuracy on top of that. This is a guy that, Larson can come in and at least compete for the backup job right away against CJ Patton. Although, it's definitely possible CJ Patton wins it outright and he ends up getting redshirt. But, the season after that, he can come in, or at least in season number 6, and be the new starting quarterback after Miami Uiagalelei goes ahead and, graduates. So, at the end of the day, this is what I decided to go ahead and move my recruiting points. Chauncey Larson is going to get the lion's share of it. We're going to give him half of our entire recruiting budget. I didn't go for more just because, we might not necessarily need to do that simply because no other school is going after him. So I feel pretty confident that we can bring him in so long as nobody else comes in, tries to take him or outright chooses not to play college football anywhere. That's also always a thing that could happen. Jeremy Mayo, we're going to put 2,000 points into him. We have a pretty solid lead with him against Purdue and the other schools, so I think we can go ahead and bring him in. And then Deshaun Berry, we put 3,000 points into him. He could be a guy that can come in and potentially start right away, whereas Chauncey Larson might potentially be redshirted next season if he came onto campus. But that being said, that might be a challenge. That doesn't leave anything for Eric Grimes or Gordon Daniels, so we're probably going to lose out on both those cats. But if we can get these 3 guys right here, mainly Chauncey Larson, but also Deshaun Berry and Jeremy Mayo, I'll feel pretty good about this recruiting class, man. So nothing left to do but go to signing day and see what ends up happening. Alright, so it looks like a signing day for us doesn't necessarily go how we want it to. We do end up getting Jeremy Mayo, but Deshaun Berry does end up going to go ahead and sign with North Carolina State. I'm not sure exactly what happened with Larson, so we'll go ahead and see what happened there necessarily, as we'll go ahead and take a look at necessarily what happened. And Larson doesn't decide to go anywhere. Are you serious right now? We have the bar almost completely full, my guy. Come over to Earlham. You have to be kidding me. Wow, that is so unfortunate. Well, that is is deeply disappointing, actually. Like, look at this, you know, Notre Dame, you know, I can see the sliver, and, you know, they were able to go ahead and get his, you know, commit. You know, same thing with Gordon Daniels. Like, the bar's not even green, and they still got to commit. But Larson, we can't get Chauncey Larson. Are you kidding me right now? That's insane. That breaks my heart a little bit, man. Alright, so with that being said, we actually end up getting shafted a little bit in the recruiting process. We ended up with the 88th ranked recruiting class, which is obviously not good for a team that just finished third in the nation, but realistically, 3-star team in the MAC conference. You know, that's roughly where I expected us to be at the end of the day. You know, it's not exactly what happened, but that is, you know, gonna happen. You know, not a lot of guys here that can make an impact, but it is what it is. So this right here is going to be our recruiting class, you know, at least, you know, not counting the preferred walk-ons, you know. So like I said, man, if you you know, want to go ahead and be part of you know, a custom recruit in this series, all you gotta do is let me know in the comments. I will have a template in the description, as well as a pinned comment for you guys to go ahead and enjoy. So yeah, just let me know, man, and I will go ahead and make it happen for sure. Alright, so that being said, you know, I do want to go ahead and, you know, move into position changes for the team. One move I want to make right away is I want to go ahead and move one of these guys, one of these backups from left tackle. And I'm looking at Cornell Smith simply because he probably will not play anytime soon. He's going to be buried behind Lionel Williams and Zacoby Johnson. So I think Cornell Smith, I'm going to maybe transition over to right tackle or even center. Actually, I'm really liking the idea of moving him over to the center position, because he'll actually get bumped up to a 65 overall. So what that will do is Cornell Smith, after Jacoby Black plays his senior year, Cornell Smith will come in and he'll should be starting over Ronaldo Booker. You know, that'll give Ronaldo Booker a little bit more time. Maybe, you know, get a little bit of playing time here or there in his freshman campaign. But of course, you know, we'll just have to wait to see what happens with that. For the defensive side of the ball, we'll go ahead and see what I want to do with this defense. We have plenty of depth on the defensive line, man. We definitely have plenty of guys that we do want to go ahead and work with. Tom Sullivan will now be eligible to play for us, and he'll probably start for us, you know, his first year on the field. Ian Levine will also be up in there as well. But I do want to go ahead and take a look at the linebacker situation. Want to go ahead, you know, try to make, you know, a few moves if we can. And I think what I want to do, I want to move one of these middle linebackers out over to the you know, the left linebacker position. The question is, you know, who I want to move. Now, granted, it does have to be someone that's kind of quick. I don't want to move King Ray, because the thing with King Ray is he'll start at that linebacker position once Josh Brown goes ahead and graduates. So, but what I am going to go ahead and do, because Marlon Thomas, you know, he's going to be backed up, you know, third string guy anyways, I'm going to shift him over to left outside linebacker, because he'll have the speed to do it realistically. The thing is, he'll be above two upperclassmen in RJ Greenwake and David Smith, who we did bring in as a JUCO guy. But that being said, you know, that will still put Marlon Thomas in a position to go ahead and start sooner. So I think that would be, you know, the best you know, case to use his abilities at the end of the day. At cornerback, you know, we brought in quite a few corners, but 3 of the 4 are, you know, they are indeed preferred walk-ons. So the thing with preferred walk-ons, if you're new to this series, by the way, is since I didn't actively recruit these guys, I'm going to decrease their stats a little bit, just simulate the fact that they are indeed preferred walk-ons. But we do at least, you know, have our quarterback need met for the time being. Now we'll see what happens with final cuts and, you know, all that good stuff. Looking around, we could need a better caliber strong safety, I think, at the end of the day, because what we got going on here is that we're in trouble. To be honest with you, this is a a young, strong safety core, so it's gonna certainly already big shoes to fill when Justin Burton does graduate, and he'll probably go to the NFL, I would imagine. We'll see what happens here at the strong safety position. That being said, we'll also need a new kicker, and then punter, is kind of a stopgap kind of thing. He is a sophomore JUCO guy, but I mean, we just need somebody to punt the football. As long as it's not like an actual walk-on, that'll treat us well. So Jacob Ramos, we're here in training results, and Jacob Ramos will not be getting the coveted 99. I thought he would get, because I'm pretty sure he has 99 kick power and 99 kick accuracy at this point. So I'm actually really shocked that they don't give him the 99 designation at this point in his career. He's still a really good kicker, don't get me wrong. Justin Burns is now up to a 96 overall. He's improved some stuff as well. He's up to an 80 awareness. He's going to be set for a beastly senior year, I would imagine. But taking a look at the rest of the roster, and surprisingly, CJ Patton, he's trying to make a case for himself, man. +7 overall. I'm still going to have him as a full-time backup for Miami Uiagalelei, but that being said, I'm really liking what I see from CJ Patton overall, simply because he does going to go in. He's going to do a nice job running this offense, especially if we keep running what our new playbook's going to be, depending on how that goes around. Halfbacks look good too, our senior core, but they're going to really have to prepare these young guys, because we have 3 seniors at the top of the depth chart. So the guys, those freshman red shirts, Devontae McCary and Daniel Carrington, they're going to need to be ready to go, because they have some major shoes to fill. Wide receiver, we have 2 guys over 80 overall. That's Jakeem Short and Adam Hill III. Derek Blue almost gets there. He's just one shy. There's going to be a solid little wide receiver core. Henry B. York's still around, surprisingly, because he was actually redshirt for a season. He didn't play last year. I think it might have been redshirt because of that, but it is what it is. Jeremy Sprinkle Jr. and Robert Price, they're both over 70 overall. Lionel Williams is a 70 overall. Ray Stevenson, he's up to a 77. Jacoby Black might be our best offensive lineman, though. He's up to an 81. Cornell Smith will be backing him up. We got a little bit of some youth at the right guard position. Andy Richardson, he's a 69. Jeremy Norton, he's a true sophomore. He'll be up to a 67. And then King Nutt, custom recruit, he's up to a 65. And then Sam Price III, he'll come back as our starting right tackle as a 76 overall. Over on the defensive side of football, though, Finn Otis is now an 80 overall, with Chris Ty and Izzy Thomas going ahead and providing backup roles. At the right end position, right end, looking a little bit lighter, surprisingly. The graduation of Matthew Sands could take a toll. Greg Jenkins and Jason Bell, it's a close battle, but looks like Greg Jenkins might take over the right end job. Lonnie Morris, is the 66. Over at defensive tackle, we'll have 2 guys over 70 overall, Ian Levine and Tom Sullivan, getting ready for this season. Left end, RJ Greenwake, who hasn't seen the field much after his freshman year, but was still, on special teams. He'll be, he's an 84 overall, so I think he'll see some more run. Josh Brown is an 83, with King Ray right behind him, weighing in the wings. He's an 80 overall. Nate Hunt is an 87. He's going to be a beast this season. Seth Gray and Jacob Long Schumacher sitting behind him as well. Over at the cornerback position, a very young cornerback group, but we only have 1 senior that is at training results. That's Deontay McLaurin. He's up to an 80 overall. He's going to be established as our best cornerback now. He actually passes up both MJ Granson and Mario Hernandez. Cameron Frost is up to an 86, and Justin Burton, we knew he was a beast as well going into this season. Alright, so we go ahead and start the process of cutting some players, and we actually have 8 players to cut this season. One person I think is going to get the axe is Jack Rodford, sadly. 1 for 8, 11 yards. That was in year number 1. he's just gonna have to go. I mean, I feel really bad to cut him, but I mean, that's just, you know, the thing of the game. We're also gonna get rid of some other guys that we didn't, some of them which we didn't originally recruit. Johnny Brooks is one of them. He's gonna get the axe. Cole Everson, he was actually somebody that we recruit, but there was another strong safety that came in that was better. Some of these corners that we didn't grab, although some of them might actually end up staying on. So we'll go ahead and see, you know, how that necessarily plays out. See who else do we need to get rid of here. Want to go ahead and, well, we got free cuts here at several different positions. I think David Hale is going to go ahead and get the axe at this point. Who else do we got going on here? Spencer Brown. They'll go ahead and cut Spencer Brown. Cornell Grant, I know we brought him in as a wide receiver originally, but I think he might be the last cut. So that's going to round out our roster for this season. You know, I'm liking, you know, what we are bringing to the table. It does suck that we, you know, cut quite a few freshmen, but, you know, yeah, you just got to either sink or swim, man. You know, that's the name of the game at the end of the day. You know, it is what it is. It's nothing personal. You know, it's strictly business. One thing that we will really have to do is we're going to have to really go ahead and try to figure out what we need to do at the wide receiver position, because we after this season, it is going to be pretty light there. We haven't had a chance, you know, really have, you know, too many wide receivers that are actually interested in us necessarily. But it is what it is. You know, we'll always find a way, you know, figure out what we need to do. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and get into the last portions of the offseason. One more thing that I wanted to do before I went ahead, set my schedule, as well as, you know, figure out who I want to go ahead and redshirt, is I actually am going to go ahead. We're going to move Earlham to a brand new conference, and we're going to take ourselves to the American Conference. I am so excited for this opportunity. Now, who we're ending up going to go ahead and replace, you know, from a you know, Cincinnati would make a lot of sense because there already is a Cincinnati-based team in the MAC conference. But, you know, that being said, they just won the American Conference, so that, you know, wouldn't necessarily, you know, make too much sense. We're gonna go ahead and replace them with replace Temple, who actually can't move. So we're actually gonna have to, you know, figure out some things real quick. We're gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Yep, that looks. We'll put ourselves in the American East Division. By the way, we'll be with Cincinnati. This was Connecticut, but that's actually Charlotte. I forgot to move, but Charlotte will stay because they actually have had, you know, a little bit of success in this dynasty. As for what I'm trying to do, let's go ahead and put him back in the MAC. So that looks good. So we'll be in the American Conference here in season number 5. And then we'll go ahead and swap Mount St. Joseph, because Mount St. Joseph and Manchester are rivals in this dynasty. So we'll still be in the same division, so that rivalry, they'll no longer need to worry about that. Alright, man, so we go ahead and get ourselves ready to go for season number 5. And for our first season in the American Conference, this is what our schedule is going to be looking like. Now, we will start off, you know, be at home. We're going to play against Oklahoma State, which is where our defensive coordinator was fired from. So trying to get a revenge game for, you know, against the Cowboys. Then we'll go on the road to play against the Bluffton Beavers as we go ahead and take on Dusty Concepcion, who's now the head coach. He was our defensive coordinator at Earlham back in season number 4, so we're now going to go ahead and try to get revenge against him. Then we'll go into American Conference play. We'll take on Memphis, go on the road against SMU. Then we have a home game against Navy, on the road against Cincinnati, the defending American Conference champions. Then we go home, play against East Carolina, on the road against UCF, home versus Southern Florida, and then a home game versus Auburn, our last non-conference game that we have on the schedule. This is where our offensive coordinator Ryan Pugh is from. So a revenge game that we're trying to have to take care of. Then we have a road game against Tulsa, and then Charlotte is going to be the last game that we go up against here in season number 5. 5 seasons, man. I'm ecstatic. I can't believe we already made it 5 seasons, but we're here now, and I'm excited to get this season underway. But before I go ahead and do that, there are a few players that I'm going to redshirt this season. I actually have 3 redshirts. One of them was our 4-star running back, Trey Cole. I know he was a bust, but he can step in and at least play 1 season. But that being said, he has a lot to do in order to prove himself and mold himself into a starter. He's going even as among the freshmen, he's going to be sitting behind Daniel Carrington and Devontae McCary. So we'll go ahead and see how that ends up turning out. At right end, we are going to redshirt our true freshman Jeremy Mayo, who is a 3rd string kind of guy. And then over at the left end, we're actually going to redshirt Izzy Ray because he's sitting as our 5th string. That way makes it easier for us to retain guys. Just in case, we have another light recruiting class for whatever reason. So next episode, what we are going to go ahead and do is get started with year number 5. We're going home. We're taking on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Should be a great non-conference matchup for us to begin season number 5. It's going to be a good one, man, so make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you are brand new and enjoyed this off-season episode. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you're all out there. Have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.